Do illegitimate children have right to inherit property? What are the property rights between a legitimate child versus an illegitimate child? Can the family of the legitimate child refuse to give anything to the illegitimate child? Is there a general rule when it comes to the percentage of inheritance each heir is entitled to? And what if you have no idea of the assets of your parents? Is there a way to inquire about these properties? Hello, Real Estate George here, and today we are gonna discuss another controversial topic related to real estate property. And this time, let's talk about the property rights between the legitimate child versus the illegitimate child. But before that, if you are new around this channel, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and the notification bell so you will be notified for any future videos coming up from this channel. So, what is an illegitimate child? Article 164 of the Family Code defines an illegitimate child as one conceived and born outside of a valid marriage or outside lawful wedlock. Illegitimate children are generally classified into two groups. The first group are natural, or actual or by fiction, meaning a fact assumed or created by courts, or those born outside of lawful wedlock of parents who at that time of conception of the child were not qualified by the impediment to marry each other. The second type are the spurious, whether incestuous, adulterous, or illicit. And a legitimate child is that whose parents are married. And to answer these questions, let's go to what is stipulated in the law. And our Philippine laws provide for the rights of the children, both legitimate and illegitimate, to inherit from their parents. And this is where the term legitim comes in. Legitim is the portion of the property left by a deceased parent for their children. And this is stipulated under Article 886 of the Civil Code of the Philippines, that a legitim is that part of the testator's property which he cannot dispose of, because the law has reserved it for certain heirs who are therefore called compulsory heirs. Article 887 of the Civil Code of the Philippines enumerates the list of compulsory heirs, and they are legitimate children and descendants with respect to their legitimate parents and ascendants. In default of the foregoing, legitimate parents and ascendants with respect to their legitimate children and descendants. The widow or widower, acknowledged natural children and natural children by legal fiction, other illegitimate children referred to in Article 287. Thus, there is no basis if the family of the legitimate child will refuse to give inheritance to the illegitimate child, because an illegitimate child is part of the compulsory heir. And with regard to the percentage of inheritance, it is important to note that the law also provides for the size of the share to be received by an illegitimate child compared to the share of a legitimate child. Article 895 states that an illegitimate child shall receive a share equivalent to half of the share that will be received by a legitimate child, who in turn shall receive a share of half of the value of the whole legitim. Example: if the total value of the legitim left by a deceased is 10 million pesos, a legitimate child shall receive 5 million pesos from it, while an illegitimate child is entitled to only 2.5 million pesos, which is half of the value received by a legitimate child. As a general rule, illegitimate children get 1/2 of the share of a legitimate child. However, Article 895 of the Civil Code also specifically provides that the legitim of the surviving spouse must first be fully satisfied before the share of the illegitimate children can be given. And now that we have established the division and percentage of heirs, your next step is to determine the real estate properties of the deceased parent. So you start by requesting information from the Register of Deeds. And you need to have basic information such as the transfer certificate of title number and its location. Now, these are just the basic scenarios that I raised, and I know there are more complex and deeply rooted situations in real life that would need professional advice. And if you have a legal question regarding the rights of a legitimate child versus the illegitimate child, I suggest you hire a lawyer to guide you in every step of the way. So there you have it. Once again, this is George Ryan Sarmago. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay at home, and peace.